Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Museum Munchkins. I'm Mr. Nick, and today we are talking all about bats. And we're going to start off by singing a bat song if you want to stand up on your feet. This song, I like this song a lot. This song is called Why Are Bats So Cool? So we're going to learn a little bit about why bats are so cool in this song. And while we sing this song, if you want to flap your arms up and down like a bat and maybe make some big ears like a bat, you can do that. You might even, if you're watching at home on your couch, maybe you even want to hang upside down off the side of your couch like a bat while we sing this song. Flying, flying in the sky, bats are neat, I'll tell you why. Bats are yellow, red, and brown. Bats sleep hanging upside down. Flying, flying in the sky, bats are neat, I'll tell you why. Did you know bats come in all those different colors? Flying, flying in the sky, bats are neat, I'll tell you why. Some eat bugs and some eat fruit. Some look scary and some look cute. Flying, flying in the sky, bats are neat, I'll tell you why. Do you like to eat bugs? No? How about fruit? All right. Flying, flying in the sky, bats are neat, I'll tell you why. Flying foxes are the tallest. Can we stretch up really high? And bumblebee bats are the smallest. Can we make our fingers really small? Flying, flying in the sky, bats are neat, I'll tell you why. Very good. Thanks so much for singing that song with me. We can find a seat now while I put my guitar down so we can talk all about bats. Now, have you ever seen a bat before? Maybe you've seen one or heard one flying around outside where you live at night, because bats are animals that come out at night. They're nocturnal animals, and they live all around the world. So we can find bats all around the world, except for down in Antarctica and up in northern Canada and northern Russia, in places where it gets really, really cold. We don't find bats in places that are really, really cold like that, but otherwise we find bats all over the world. So it wouldn't be uncommon for you to hear one or to see one around where you live, because we find them in all sorts of different environments. There are about 1,400 different species of bats around the entire world. That's a lot of different bats. In fact, the only group of mammals that has more members than bats are the rodents. So animals like mice and squirrels and beavers, that's the only group of animals that's bigger, of mammals that's bigger than bats in the whole world are the rodents. So there are lots and lots of different types of bats all around the world, and they are very important animals everywhere that they live. Because we find them all over the place, they are really good at helping to control insect populations where they live. So if we didn't have any bats around here in Wisconsin, sometimes people think the mosquitoes get pretty bad in the summer here anyway, but if we didn't have bats, mosquitoes would be going crazy around here. Or they also help to pollinate flowers. So in places where they live, where they eat fruit, or they like to drink the nectar from flowers, they can get pollen all over their fuzzy little faces. And then when they stick their faces inside flowers to get at the nectar in there, they'll rub the pollen off of their faces. And they even help to spread the seeds of the fruit that they eat all around the forest floors. So bats are really important animals everywhere that they live. And there are two two big groups of bats, of different types of bats. So the first type are really big bats, and those are fruit-eating bats. So we find bats like that, like down in South America and over in Africa and Asia. And then there's the other type of bat, which are a lot smaller and more like the bats that we find around here. And those are bats that eat insects. Now, there are a couple bats. There's actually 3 species of bats, exactly 3 species of bats that we call vampire bats, which is kind of spooky to talk about here right around Halloween. So vampire bats are, as you might have guessed, bats that drink blood. But luckily, we don't have to worry about them too much, especially around here in Kenosha, because they only live in Central and South America. And they usually like to drink the blood from animals like cows and goats and horses, bigger animals that won't really notice them if they're around. And they make a little teeny tiny bite with their teeth and then drink up the blood that comes out of that little tiny bite. But we don't really have to worry about them, like I said, around here. Now, bats are also really interesting because they're the only mammals that can actually fly. So there are lots of mammals that can glide. You might have heard of sugar gliders before, or flying squirrels. Well, flying squirrels don't actually fly. They have lots of extra skin and hair on their bodies that when they spread out their arms and their legs really far, it helps them to glide slowly down. So they can glide, kind of like a paper airplane can glide, but a bat can actually flap its wings and fly around just like a bird. So bats are the only type of flying mammal, of animal that can actually fly. And in fact, the scientific name for bats is Chiroptera. That's a fun word to say. And that word means hand wing. So can you actually hold up your hand like this? Yeah, and we call them Chiroptera, the hand wing animals, because the skeleton that supports their wing is actually their hand. So I've actually got a bat here that we can get a little bit closer to the camera so you can see all these tiny little bones in their wings. So here's the bat's wing. We can see its arm bone. It's the top arm bone that comes off of here, and then this is its forearm. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little fingers on its wing that make up its entire wing, the 5 fingers on its hand. Yeah, so just like if I were to hold up my hand, you can see all my fingers, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fingers on my hand. But of course, I can't use my hands for flying because I'm not a bat. And in fact, let's draw something on the board really quickly. I'm going to trace my hand like this so we can see what my hand looks like with my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fingers. So that's what my hand looks like. But a bat's hand has 1 little tiny thumb, and then a really long pointer finger, and then a really long middle finger, and a really long ring finger, and a really long pinky finger, just like that. That's kind of a strange looking hand, doesn't it? And then in between each of their fingers, they have lots of skin. And that helps them to make a wing when they stretch their fingers out. And then they even have some skin that connects their pinky finger to their arm and to the side of their body. And that's what their wing is made of. So their wing is actually their hand. I think that's pretty interesting. Now, like I said, fruit bats are the largest type of bats that we find on our planet. And the biggest type of bats are the fruit bats. There's one called the flying fox, the giant flying fox. And its wingspan, that means how far it can spread out its wings, can be up to 5 or even 6 feet wide. That's a really, really big bat. Luckily, though, like we said, they only eat fruit. And actually, there's a really fun word for animals that only eat fruit. Now, you might have heard the word carnivore before. Carnivores are animals that eat meat. And herbivores are animals that eat plants. And omnivores are animals like us, animals that eat meat and plants. But fruit bats, it's a really fun word to say, are frugivores. Can you try saying that word with me? Frugivore. How about, can we say it really slowly? Frugivore. Very good. Or can we try saying it like a bat?